for this beautiful county we live in, and I pray that you can just guide us to make the right decisions on these cases we hear tonight. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation.
You may be seated. This time we will have our roll call and we will be voting by show of hands. So if you raise your hand being here, I'll show that everyone's here except for John Maloney. We do have 4 members present, so we will have a quorum and we will proceed. Under the announcements, the minutes that have been provided, we've continued to look over those. Is there any changes that need to be made? If not, is there a motion? Moving a second, all in favor? Motion is carried 4-0. The agenda that's been presented by staff, I was going to have that opportunity to look over it as well. Is there any changes that need to be made to the agenda?
Motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
Moving a second, all in favor? Motion is carried 4-0. Statement of disclosure. First hear from the applicant. We will then hear from those speaking in favor of the application, followed by those speaking in opposition. Each individual wishing to address will be allowed 3 minutes in accordance with the zoning regulations. All speakers are required to sign an address for the record. Speakers must address the planning commission and the public. Any individual speaking in favor of or in opposition to an application, campaign contributions in excess of $250. Any local elected official is required to complete a disclosure campaign contribution form, and you'll find that form with Mr. Richard Batten over here. We'll begin with application for rezoning ZA 26-16. Tyler Hester has submitted a request to the proper authorities for a land use amendment to rezone approximately 5.13 surveyed acre RSR to R8 to allow for an accessory building to be built before the principal building. Proposed rezoning is consistent with the rural land use character. Subject property at 1690 Calvert Road. Is someone here to speak for Tyler Hester? If you would please come forward. You'll find a piece of paper there on the podium in front of you. Please write your name and address on the piece of paper. If there's not a pen, we need to get one. For the record, please state your name.
Tyler Hester.
And if you would, please give us a presentation as why you are looking for a rezone.
So we just purchased this property about 3-4 months ago. We were currently in Dawsonville already off of Holcomb Road. We put our house on the market and it sold basically in a day. So we were able to purchase the land. We loved it. We drove up and down Coward going, fell in love with it. Purchased it, and me and my wife, 2 young children, we like to have a little, family farm, a little homestead. And how it was sold, obviously the young family, and we want to, slowly make it a farm. We plan on building within the next year, but to start with, we wanted to put, a barn to, start off with, put some tractors and all that in just to slowly build it ourselves, teach our children how to appreciate the land and, grow crops and stuff like that. But when I went to obviously get a permit to put the barn up, it was zoned wrong. I didn't understand how the zoning had worked at the time. So, put in a request to just rezone. So, we can put up a little barn there, have a place to enjoy the land before we can, of course, build the main structure. But like I said, we plan on building within the next years, to get something out there. So, the kids can at least run it for the time being so we can, financially afford to build an actual house.
And where will you be living in the meantime?
My wife's parents over in Canton, so about 25 minutes. I have an Airbnb there, so and I just started my business a couple months ago. So a lot of things at one time, but I grew up on a lot of land, so it's hard to find land around here. And I grew up in Canton, but it's the best place you can get to Canton. I love the area. We loved Holcomb in that community. So we were lucky to find the land. It wasn't cheap by no means, but we loved it. It's a great neighbors, great neighborhood, convenient to everything. And, yeah, we're trying to get the plans to do it.
Very good. Any questions of the applicant? Thank you, sir.
Thank
Is there anyone here to speak in favor of the application? Is there anyone here to speak in opposition to the application? This time we'll close it to the board for discussion. Gentlemen, any discussion on a zone RSR to RA? See no discussion. Is there a motion?
Motion to recommend approval.
Moving a second to recommend approval. All in favor? Motion is carried 3-0 with one abstention being the chair. That's me. So your motion is carried. You will vote with the Board of Commissioners next month. Need to present it then. ZA 26-17, Amy Butler has requested proper authorities for a land use amendment to rezone approximately 5 surveyed acres from RA to RR to allow for adjustment of property limited by acreage to 3 surveyed acres. Property rezoning is consistent with the rural living future land character area map. Subject property is located at 1337 Amiclola Church Road. Butler. If you would please come forward, write your name and address on a piece of paper there on the podium. For the record, please state your name.
Amy Butler.
And if you would, please give us a presentation as to why you want to do this rezone.
About a little over a year ago, I went through a divorce and my in-laws had some land and they gifted me 5 acres of this to build my house on, which I did. And then they also own the property adjoining me. I think after they gave me the 5 acres, it left them, gosh, I want to say like 11 something acres. Now they have decided that they want to sell a big piece of their land. So they want me to give them 2 acres back because from what I understand, 3 acres is the minimum you can have because I do have a mobile. So I was to keep 3 acres, give them 2 back. They're just trying to sell as much land as they can. So that's what I'm doing.
Specifically, the survey there is yours the 3-acre tract or the 5-acre tract.
Yes, the 3 acres is mine. Yeah.
Currently, you actually have 5 acres at this moment, right?
Yes, they've surveyed that. I have not put the 2 acres back in their name or anything because I didn't know when I had to do that. Like we did all that, with me, but I thought I had to do this. We got approved for this before I can put that back in their name. And like I said, they have that property all the way in the park. They're gonna do this rezone and try to get 3 acres because they have all the way on the end of the property over there, and then they're gonna sell like 10 acres right in the middle. They're like in their 80s, and that's what I'm thinking. They just need to sell as much land as they can.
Any questions, applicant? Thank you.
Thank you.
Is someone here to speak in favor of the application? Seeing none, is someone here to speak in opposition to the application? Seeing none, this time we'll close the door for discussion. Gentlemen, any discussion? Is there a motion?
Motion to recommend approval.
Second motion.
Moving a second, all in favor, raise your hand. Motion is carried 3-0. You have your recommendation from us. You will need to appear before the Board of Commissioners next month. Okay. ZA 26-18, Davis Engineering and Survey has submitted a request authorities to amend the future land use character area designation from Dawson to Crossroads, followed by rezoning from RSRMM to CCB. In addition, a special use permit will be required to allow parking of operable vehicles, including cars, trucks, RVs, campers, boats, and similar uses. Subject property consists of approximately 6.689 surveyed acres. Property will be located at the corner of Valley Road and Highway 53. This Davis Engineering. If you would, please come forward, write your name and address on the piece of paper there on the podium. For the record, please state your name.
Tony King. I am the landowner's son.
If you would, give us a presentation as to the rezone.
Yeah, so my dad here basically bought the property for an investment. We have RVs and stuff ourselves, and he's been sitting on it, pay tax on it. See a lot of growth in the community and see an opportunity. So, a lot of stuff going on, a lot of housing going in. Folks have choice. We're looking to maybe fill in.
Okay. And when did you purchase the property? When did your dad purchase the property?
Been several years. Is that year?
5 years, 10 years, 40?
It's probably been around 5.
More than 10.
Yeah.
And are you aware of the analysis that's come back from Public Works as well as Emergency Services?
Just read it
Okay.
today.
And are you comfortable with what's being said from Public Works as well as Emergency Services?
So the only thing that kind of stood out to me was how the road changes, commercial changes. I guess, is there anybody that can elaborate on that, what that would consist of?
I would not be the one to tell you what a commercial road should consist of, not being an engineer. Public Works says that Valley Road is not constructed for commercial traffic. Applicant will need to reconstruct Valley Road to local commercial street standards, 133-518. So I'm sure that perhaps Davis could help as well in order to meet what they're specified. It also says engineer to provide adequate distance between State Route 53 and entrance road to avoid rear end collisions when multiple trucks, trailers are stacked at the gate. Right-of-way encroachment permit would be required. Stormwater discharge appears to be at a county ditch. Ensure county infrastructure is capable of taking the discharge. Local improvements to county ditch would be required. Then, just for everyone's knowledge, on emergency services, if approved for zoning changes, you would need to ensure adequate fire flow. Hydrant distances include using county ordinance chapter 22, meet all fire apparatus access. Ordinance chapter 22, 224, IFC chapter 5, and appendix D. This will need to be determined and have for your future project. Plans.
Of course, to all
You're roughly aware of the cost to meet this.
I would say roughly, extremely roughly.
You're also aware that you're surrounded by residential property, correct? Okay. Any questions to the applicant? Is there anyone here to speak in favor of the application? If you would, please come forward, write your name and address on a piece of paper in front of you.
This is Peyton Anderson with Davis Engineering and Surveying. I just wanted to add, golly, to the residential properties surrounding the property, there is a 25-foot required buffer. We're proposing a 50-foot buffer to just add that additional buffer between them and the residential. I can't speak for them if they're okay with reconstructing the road to commercial standards. That's going to be far cheaper than putting in left turn lanes, right hand turn lanes, completely redo Highway 53. So I think we'd be all for that. The fire protection side of the issue, that's pretty common. Stormwater we've addressed, so I think we're fine with any comments they've given.
Thank you. Is there anyone else speaking in favor of the application? Seeing none, is anyone speaking in opposition to the application? Seeing none, at this time we'll close the board discussion. Gentlemen, any discussion? On a change of character area, rezone, special use permit, RSR to CCB. Is there a motion?
Motion to recommend approval.
With a second, all in favor? 2, 3. Motion is carried 3-0. We will be recommending approval to the Board of Commissioners. We'll also need to present this before the Board of Commissioners next month. Community development updates, land use growth management draft code changes. Which Richard would this be coming from? Oswald?
Last year, I came before the planning commission for phase 1 of the growth management county code changes. And that was based on citizen input, not just from a survey of over 1,000 residents who identified as Dawson County residents, but other folks who came to meetings and provided input to staff, along with the planning committee. I don't know that there was much people who came to the planning commission and provided input, but they also met individually with members of the board of commissioners. So last year, a lot of changes were approved to essentially slow down residential growth. That was phase 1. This is phase 2, based on additional input from citizens and members of the board of commissioners. And what they're looking at is larger lot sizes for single-family residential. And within those single-family residential zoning districts, larger house sizes. And there are certain zoning districts that were added in about 2010. I don't know all the reasoning that went behind that, but essentially the county zoning ordinance went from before 2010, just having a few zoning districts, to 31 flavors, some of which are a bit redundant and some of which are very small lot. And so whenever there's a zoning district proposed to be essentially deleted, legally it can't be fully deleted. What it is frozen, because there are properties out there existing zoned a certain way. Those zoned properties retain their rights. They don't get rezoned. But if something is frozen, there can be no new rezoning to a certain category. And then there are a few commercial uses that were identified as something to be potentially further limited, where if there are too many gas stations or too many oil change facility places, or too many data centers, that might be concerning to citizens or the members of the board of commissioners. And then also storage facilities was mentioned. I don't know that we particularly have a huge amount of overabundance of storage facilities at this point, like parking lots or mini warehouses, but that was one of the uses identified. So what we're looking at in particular is there's a zoning district called RT, that's small lot. It used to be small lot, single family residential and townhomes. That was added last year to no longer include townhomes. Now it's, because of redundancy, proposed to just be frozen, where everybody could rezone to RT. There's a zoning district called RS, that's single family residential, but we don't get a lot of rezonings and there's not a lot of property zoned to RS. It's very similar to the more common RSR, which is homes only, or RSR MM, which is you can have a house or a manufactured home. So just eliminating redundancy, RS would be frozen. There is a zoning district called RMF, that is multifamily. In years past, there were some approved rezonings, but being that multifamily is primarily apartments, and at this point, there is very little desire from many citizens and the board of commissioners to have new rezoning to apartment complex rezoning. The RMF zoning district would be frozen. RS2 is small lot, single family zoning, max 2 units per acre. That would be frozen. There's an unusual zoning district that may have been well intended, but there's been no development to it. And I don't even know if there is a single property code, MUV, mixed use village. I don't know if people visited the Vickery, Avalon, places like this, and thought that there would be a huge demand for Dawson County. But in terms of market demand, it hasn't been there. Nobody's rezoned to it. And so that would be proposed to be frozen. And then larger lot sizes. We've got other zoning districts like RL, which would be like lakefront, RS, RSR, RSRMM. That smallest lot size would increase from what's already fairly big at 0.75 of an acre, increase to a standard size of 1 acre. That's kind of the goal that the Board of Commissioners, a couple of them have pushed for this desire to really go to more of a 1 acre plus standard. And then RPC, planned community zoning district, would increase to 1 acre minimum for single family residential. Now, RPC is kind of like a planned community zoning. Chastity is one of the few zoned that way. So RPC, um, it would go much larger because Chastity we know has very small lots, even down to smaller than a quarter acre. But this would go to 1 acre. Larger house sizes, minimum house size, depending on single family zoning district. Some places are 800, some places are 1,200 square feet. That would increase to 1,500 square feet in smaller lots, single family. Now, what we've looked at today in the rezonings were for RA, agriculture, and RRE, rural estate. Those would stay the same. Those would stay 800 square feet for the minimum. But these other smaller zoning districts are more potential for subdivisions or smaller lots where the homes are closer together. Commercial chart of uses would be amended to limit gas stations, oil change businesses, and storage facilities. Typically, kind of, if there are certain places where they're just allowed by right, that would be special use where somebody would have to come before y'all and then get Board of Commissioners approved by zoning case. The last item is data centers. There's already a lot of regulations that the county has about data centers that were recently approved. But based on further citizen input and national sentiment as well, that's gone into this idea that data centers are potentially concerning from an infrastructure standpoint and distant uses. The standards would be strengthened even more. Already, there's only one zoning district that somebody can even apply for a data center. They would need a zoning case, they would need to come before y'all, the Board of Commissioners approval. That's only one, the industrial zoning district, CIL. And then even with that, even if somebody has property already zoned industrial, they would need a special use permit or special zoning case. And then the setbacks would be increased, the minimum lot acreage would be increased, like from 25 acres to 100 acres. Setback increased from 100 feet to 250 feet. Buffers increased from 100 feet to 250 feet. And all this is with the idea that legally there may be certain uses like data centers that may be for the most part inappropriate for a rural or residential and agriculture place like Dawson County. Legally, it's inappropriate to prohibit a legitimate business use, but something that is less preferred. The more regulations, it makes it harder to get it potentially approved. Any questions about these proposals? Okay, so this is just discussion because what we'll have is two public hearings. Board of Commissioners, July 2nd, will review this officially in their work session, 5 o'clock is a public hearing. Anybody can speak for or against. And then July 16, 6 o'clock voting session. That'll be another public hearing. Anybody can speak for or against. July 16 would be the earliest date for potential voting decision. But again, if y'all have any questions or comments, you can let me know now. You can let Richard Batt, myself know in between now and July 2nd. Any citizen who wants a copy of this, we've got information. We'd be glad to sit down with folks, email them, whatever information they need.
Thank you very much. Item K, adjournment. Is there a motion?
Motion to adjourn.
Second? We're adjourned. Thank you.